Your past doesn't define you. How you face it does. Imagine this. You're living in peace. You've moved on from old wounds, old mistakes, those years you're not proud of. Then one day, someone, maybe a person you once trusted, once loved, once shared everything with, reaches into that past and pulls it out like a knife. They twist it, reminding you of the pain you thought was gone. And with a voice half pity, half contempt, they say, "You remember that, right? That's who you were." In that moment, your chest tightens, not because the past has returned, but because you realize someone is using it against you. That feeling, it's betrayal all over again. And what's the first thing most of us do? We get angry. We get defensive. We start explaining. We try to prove, "I've changed. I'm not that person anymore." But the more we justify, the deeper we fall into their trap. We hand them the power to control our emotions. The Stoic doesn't do that. And today, I'll share with you 3 Stoic responses to use when someone brings up your past to hurt you. 3 things to say, not with the first Stoic response. Yes, that happened. Anger, but with unshakable calm. First response, yes, that happened. The first instinct of the ego is denial. We want to forget. We want to erase. We want to pretend it never happened. But in Stoic philosophy, acceptance is liberation. When someone says, "I remember you failed at that company," or "You were betrayed because of how you acted," you don't flinch, you don't defend, you don't explain, you just look them in the eye and say, "Yes, that happened." No excuses, no shame, no guilt. Why does that simple line carry such power? Because it steals the one thing they crave most, your reaction. People who use your past to hurt you aren't seeking truth. They're seeking control. They want to watch you squirm, shrink, justify. But when you face it calmly, they lose their grip. Their weapon suddenly has no edge. Here's an example. An old friend reminds you how you got fired years ago for a foolish mistake. You answer, "Yes, and I learned a valuable lesson from it." In that instant, you disarm them. Because once you're no longer ashamed of who you were, no one can use it against who you are. Seneca once wrote, "There is nothing more noble than standing before your own faults and saying, 'Yes, I did that and I learned from it.'" When you accept your past, you reclaim its meaning. You take ownership of your story instead of letting someone else tell it for you. Second response, the second Stoic response. I've learned from it. Learned from it. This is the sentence that turns your past into power. It shifts the conversation from "I was wrong" to "I've grown." Those who use your past against you only see the person you used to be. What they don't realize is you're not that person anymore. Like a sword forged in fire, you become sharper with every break. The cracks in your life aren't weaknesses. They're where the light gets in. Think of Nelson Mandela in 27 years in prison, a past that could have crushed any spirit. But he said, "I do not hate them. I learned that true freedom begins within." So when someone tells you you failed in your marriage, how can you speak about love? You smile and answer, "Because I've been broken, I understand what love isn't and what it truly is." That's not reaction. That's wisdom. You're not defending yourself. You're redefining yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Every obstacle is an opportunity to practice virtue." So when they try to stain you with your past, use that very past to show your strength. That's the art of transformation. Turning pain into wisdom and scars into symbols of spiritual maturity. Third response. Why the third Stoic response? Why are you bringing this up now? Are you bringing this up now? This is the question that silences every manipulator. No anger, no sarcasm, just pure genuine curiosity. And that calmness is what they can't stand. When you ask why, you shift the roles from the one being attacked to the one observing the attack. They wanted to control your emotions, but now they must confront their own motives. You've held up a mirror and forced them to look into the shadow they've been hiding from. If their intentions were sincere, your question makes them pause, reflect, maybe even feel ashamed. But if they came to wound you, they crumble under the weight of their own exposure. Epictetus once said, "The one who harms others is the one already in pain." They bring up your past because they can't face their present. So remember, when you calmly ask, "Why are you bringing this up now?" you've already taken back control. You've turned the spotlight onto them. That's the moment the balance of power flips without a single shout. Your composure becomes armor. Your silence, a wall of steel. Part 4. The power of silence and emotional control. Power of silence and self-control. The Stoic understands silence is not weakness. It's the highest form of power. When someone tries to provoke your emotions, every impulsive reaction becomes a gift you hand to them. Seneca once said, "The one who angers you conquers you." You might lose the argument, but you win in composure. You might not strike back, but you keep your peace. And in today's world, where everyone is shouting, explaining, and proving, the one who stays silent is the one who holds control. Someone once told me, "You never react. That makes people afraid of you." I smiled and said, "I don't want them to fear me. I just want peace within myself." Once you understand that, you'll see. No one can drag you into the mud unless you step down willingly. Some might say, "But I'm afraid people will think wrong of me." And I ask, if they do, does that change who you truly are? Epictetus once said, "If someone calls you a donkey, do you check a mirror?" Of course not, because you know who you are. That's true freedom to know yourself and need no one's approval. If they bring up your mistakes, smile. If they twist your past, stay silent. If they want a reaction, let them see your calm. You owe no explanation for the chapters you've already healed from. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When someone acts wrongly, it is because they do not know what is right. Teach them through your behavior, not your words." Sometimes the most powerful response is maturity itself. When they try to define you by your past, use your present to reflect who they are. Think about it. We all have older versions of ourselves, ones we're not proud of. But without them, we wouldn't be who we are today. You were once naive, weak, flawed. But those moments taught you courage, patience, and the art of rising again. A man who once struggled with addiction can now guide others to freedom. A person who once failed in business can mentor hundreds to succeed. Someone who was betrayed can become an example of forgiveness. That's how you turn darkness into light. The Stoic doesn't erase the past, they transform it. The Stoic conclusion, freedom through acceptance. Conclusion. The Stoic way to end the story. People will try to use your past to pull you down. Not because you are weak, but because your growth reminds them of what they could have become. When you rise, you become a mirror. And not everyone is ready to face their reflection. They don't attack you because you're broken. They attack because you've healed, because your peace threatens their chaos. So remember 3 things. First, acknowledge your past without shame. Second, turn every mistake into a lesson, not a life sentence. And third, ask questions instead of reacting. Let them see their own reflection in your calm. That's how a Stoic wins. Not through noise, not through defense, but through dignity. You don't need to fight to prove you've changed. Those who truly see you don't need an explanation. And those who refuse to know explanation will ever be enough. One day someone will bring up your past again, and you'll smile. Not in pride, not in pain, but in peace. Because you'll know I am not what happened to me. I am how I chose to rise from it. That is true freedom. Not forgetting your past, but being at peace even when you remember it. Your past doesn't define you. How you face it does. And if someone tries to drag you back into an old chapter, smile and say, "Thank you, but I've already finished that part of the story." Then walk away calm, steady, untouchable, like a true Stoic. If this message speaks to you, share it, Let it reach someone still trapped in their past. And if you're walking your own Stoic path, hit subscribe. Join this community of calm minds and unbreakable spirits. Drop this in the comments as your reminder for today. I've closed that chapter. My story moves forward.